It's a great questions, Dave. Thank you. Well, first of all, on pay-per-views, last year we expanded the calendar very successfully. You've written probably more about that than anybody, that it was really a highlight of our business this past year, expanding the pay-per-view calendar the past few years. We launched AEW in 2019, and through the first full year, that first pay-per-view cycle was really 4 events, and we successfully added a fifth event in 2022 with Forbidden Door, and that was the biggest debut of any of our events at that point. And then this year we expanded that calendar again and went from 5 events to 8, and again, it was very successful. I think it was a very proper amount of saturation. It was well saturated, appropriately saturated, and at 8 events, we saw record results, and the additions of All In, our biggest event ever, that would then, for it being AEW's first All In, it would be the biggest debut of any of our events now, and then a great debut for Wrestle Dream, an event I felt really strongly about and have a personal connection to, and it was really special to me and a lot of the wrestlers in AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling for us to go out there and for AEW to pay tribute to the late, great Antonio Inoki, without whom I really believe we all might not be here right now. And then close the year with AEW World's End, which was an incredibly successful pay-per-view event. So going to 8 events, it worked really well. I believe we have the capacity to increase. I think this year, I would, if you forced me to say, to use an expression I use in the back a lot, if you forced me to say, if I had to say, I would probably, and I don't have to say, so, but I want to be open and honest. I could see this year being 9 to 10, and I think 9 is probably a good sweet spot, but it feels like that's about the right number, and I don't want to make a huge change or increase, but definitely 8 was incredibly successful, and I don't want to do anything totally different, but I do see an opening for 9 probably, and maybe 10, but 9 feels like a great number for us right now, particularly when you also consider I put on 3 Ring of Honor streaming events annually. That puts you with AEW doing really our strongest 9 possible events, plus these 3 events that have a great tradition. I think they were ROH's 3 strongest events, which is why I've kept them in the rotation, and now those are different. Those aren't really pay-per-views. Those are streaming events. But I do think it's going to be a great year for us. If we do get a bump annually, so our rights fees are better in 24 than they were in 23, but the really big bump by a lot more than that is going to be in 25. And I'm very excited about the upcoming media rights renewal deal. That will really put us over the top in many ways into going from being a milestone business that has accomplished things that will live in the history books and a great business to being what I think will be a sustainable business for many, many years to come. And that will be the new media rights we do, which will really be the biggest source of revenue we've ever injected into the company. And we've grown our revenues year over year. And as we've expanded, I think it's been a really, really, really bold and a confident, and I think now justified in the boldness and confidence of these moves to expand the pay-per-view calendar and expand our TV production. The pay-per-view calendar, it's in the pudding. The numbers are there. You can see it's really worked for us. We do some of the best events in pro wrestling. It's a great value, I believe, the AEW pay-per-views. And I've kept the cost of the events uniform over the years. And when you plop down that money on that weekend to buy the big AEW pay-per-view event. I think we have a very good history of delivering great shows, and now the business track record is there too. Our events have done very, very well. And this past year in expanding the calendar, we really grew, again, not only grew the number of events we did, but really grew the revenue, and that proved to be a great move. We also made a huge, huge leap by adding AEW Collision. I believe that risk we took and that leap and like I said, the boldness and confidence it takes to do those things, I think that has been realized in terms of the quality of the show, and it's been realized in terms of the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, I think in the past year on AEW Collision, we've had some of the best moments, some of the best matches, and some of the best all-around 2-hour shows in all of pro wrestling. And I think the biggest opportunity lies in the media rights renewal, where Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision will all be getting huge, huge increases, I can say for sure. And now going into that and having, like I said, that confidence, I think 25 is going to go down as the year where AEW really took the leap from being a startup company to being the established challenger player in pro wrestling for decades to come, and establishing all that in basically 5 years. That was the 5-year plan. And sitting here in the same place where we started it 5 years ago in Jacksonville, Florida, and being here in the same office looking at Daly's Place right now, it's really, really exciting, and it's really rewarding to look back at that. So, yeah, I think that media rights renewal coming up, that's going to be the key thing on the TV side and on the pay-per-view side. Most of the expansion has happened, and it's been successful. And now, I think it's like with a pizza. Like, we found most of the places we're going to put the cheese in the pizza. It'll be years before they find more places to put cheese in a pizza. So I'm not going to try to stuff a lot more cheese in it. But I do think pay-per-view wise, we've kind of found a good place. But I think also by expanding, it's really helped us. So thank you. As you can tell, I love talking about the business side of it too, almost as much as I love talking about the wrestling side of it and having Sting's retirement match at the Greensboro Coliseum on Sunday. So thank you, Dave.